last Tuesday. I had just put my babies to bed and was sitting outside in the driver's seat of my car. Marcellis was sitting in the passenger seat, and an officer arrived and pulled up behind my parked car.
You're Marcellis, right?
Yeah, for what?
Yeah, you're under arrest, man.
Why?
Because I said.
I could hear Marcellis still breathing. I told him, please don't shoot. I have a baby. We have a baby. We don't want to die.
Tafara Williams, who survived last week's controversial police shooting, is speaking out publicly from her hospital bed. She is still recovering from the wounds she suffered in last week's police-involved shooting that claimed the life of her boyfriend.
I kept screaming, I don't have a gun. But he kept shooting. I had my hands up and I couldn't move because I had been shot. Marcellis had his hands up.
A Waukegan police officer's dashboard camera capturing the shots he fired at a young couple just over a week ago, killing Marcellis Stennette. But tonight there are questions about why that officer didn't turn on his body camera until after the shooting.
They're waiting for us.
When does it end? When does it end, America?
You're going to see this in the video, and it's going to raise a question, so I want to try and blunt it right now. Once the shooting police officer turned on his body cam, you heard him say, shout across the way to Tafara, "You tried to run me over." Okay? That is the false narrative that we continue to talk about. Understand this. When you turn on your body camera, with these specific body cameras, there's a 30-second cache, right? So the first 30 seconds there's no audio. But then after the 30 seconds, the audio begins. So he knew to push the button and shortly thereafter say, "You tried to run me over." Those were his first words.
I was right behind you and you almost tried to run me over. Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm good. I don't know about the car, man. Hey, are you okay?
Marcellis had his hands up. I kept asking him why he was shooting.
This police officer has absolute zero credibility. There should be no weight given to his self-serving statement for the use of deadly force against what clearly appears to be a stationary car, and his feet were stationary at the same time.
The veteran cop telling investigators Williams abruptly reversed her car in a threatening fashion, something which she denies, and that's when he says he opened fire, killing Marcellis Stennette, pictured here with his young son.
The vehicle never ran over him.
An officer dragged me away from Marcellis. I begged him to take him first because he had just got surgery not too long ago. They ignored me. They laid Marcellis on the ground and covered him up with a blanket while he was still breathing. I know he was still alive. And they took that away from me instead of letting, oh man.
And they counted about 8 minutes before Marcellis Stinnette was given aid by first responders after he was shot, and their questions don't end there.
He was still breathing. Oh, man. And they took me away instead of letting him. Man, they took me away. And allowed him to die They wanted us to bleed out on the ground. They wanted us to bleed out.
Why is it we have to play this cat and mouse game where we can't release all the video because we have ongoing investigations? I guarantee you this, anything that criminalizes or indicts the marginalized people, they will release that to you. But it's only when the police has done something that is questionable that they say, oh, we can't release the video to you. And it just flies in the face of all common sense. How is that being transparent if you don't release the video and make it public, since the taxpayers are paying exactly for that reason, to see what happened, so we can finally speak truth to power and we can finally have transparency plus accountability so we can get to trust.
My name is Tafara Williams. On October 20, 2020, the Waukegan Police Department opened fire on me and Marcellis Stennette while we had our hands raised in the air. I lost more than a boyfriend that day. I lost the love of my life and the father of my 7-month-old son. Here's the only thing I had left of Marcellis. Last Tuesday, I had just put my babies to bed and was sitting outside in the driver's seat of my car to smoke outside the house. Marcellis was sitting in the passenger seat, and an officer arrived and pulled up behind my parked car. He didn't turn on his lights or sirens. He got out the police car, so I rolled down my windows and turned on all the lights inside the car so the officer could see I had no weapons and I wasn't doing anything illegal. The officer called Marcellis by name. He asked me, was I Tafara? And told me I was Marcellis' baby mother. Then he started harassing Marcellis. He stood near the car with his left hand on his gun. And he said to Marcellis, I know you from jail. I asked the officer if we were free to leave. I asked him if we were under arrest. The officer took a few steps away from the car and got on his cell phone. I drove away very slowly because I was scared to get out of the car. I drove out to MLK and turned onto it. The officer was not following me. The police lights were not on. When I turned on to MLK, it seemed like there was another officer there waiting for us. There was a crash and I lost control. The officer was shooting at us. The car ended up slamming into a building. I kept screaming, I don't have a gun. But he kept shooting. He told me to get out of the car. I had my hands up and I couldn't move because I had been shot. Marcellis had his hands up. I kept asking him why he was shooting. Marcellis kept shaking. More officers came and were pointing their guns at us. My blood was gushing out on my body. The officers started yelling. They wouldn't give us an ambulance until we got out the car. When I moved, blood seemed to pour out of my body on the floor of the car, on the ground, everywhere, man. I could hear Marcellis still breathing. I told him, please don't shoot. I have a baby. We have a baby. We don't want to die. An officer dragged me away from Marcellis. I begged him to take him first because he had just got surgery not too long ago. They ignored me. They laid Marcellis on the ground and covered him up with a blanket while he was still breathing. I know he was still alive. And they took that away from me instead of letting, oh man. Sorry. He was still breathing. Oh man. And they took me away instead of letting him. They took me away. Oh, man. And allowed him to die. They wanted us to bleed out on the ground. They wanted us to bleed out.